Let's take a look at using and modifying printouts within K9. So no doubt you've seen in every form, you have this print email tab over here. Okay, in this case we're in a sales order. And when you first install K9, you'll have a standard option for both print and email. We went ahead and we created several different options here. I'm going to show you how to run and create your own. So basically if we go ahead and print and you choose standard, you're going to see a very linear view over here, just like every document and you would expect it. Okay, various information over there that we can go ahead and tweak. Now you'll notice that this invoice happens to be a matrix generated invoice. You can tell because all the parts over here belong to the quantities matrix. Okay, I have populated this document using the matrix. So now if I need to read through this, it's a little bit cumbersome. If I want to know how many red genes they have, it's a lot of reading to figure this out on the printout. So you have the ability to also print it in a matrix format, which is basically the XY grid that you have in the matrix. And again, this is covered in a bit more detail on working with size and colors. Okay, so now how do you modify these printouts over here and what can you do? So under system maintenance and system management, I have a printout config option over here. And again, you have some default options when the system is installed that you can run with. Okay, and if you open this up, you'll see every printout configuration in the system. If we take a look, for instance, at the standard sales order one, you'll see different options over here. Now again, I can create one from scratch. I can modify the existing one, and you'll see the same options over here. So basically, I have the document type, a name for it. That's what shows up on the list. Is it a matrix generated? Remember, if you're working with the size and color, it's easier to read. Is it a pick document? What this basically will mean is if you check that box, it won't print prices on there. So in a separate video, we talk about different ways to do picking within K9. In some cases, you can use that sales order as your picking slip. So you would want to make sure to pick that, not to clutter up the document and provide unnecessary information. Okay, line order, this is basically how you want the line numbers to print within the line items over here, okay, which you can ignore for now. In most cases, you will leave this alone. This is really if you do some EDI conversions. Okay, the remarks. Do we want to include remarks in the system? So if you recall, when you guys look in any form in the system, we have a notes and a remarks sub-level, okay? Notes and remarks, and basically remarks, you can print those optional remarks if you want on the document, whereas you don't have the option for notes. Notes are purely internal, so that's what this remarks tab is over here. Okay, and you have an allow print and allow email. So you may have a format that you email, let's say one that's very picture heavy, and you have one that you won't allow your users to print. So that may be something you can manipulate what they can do with this document. Extended description. So if you recall, in the part catalog over here, we cover this in a separate video, you have an extended description tab. Okay, this can be for the very long description of an item. Let's say you have a regulatory requirement that you have to have the documentation for that product within the invoice. You can create as long of a document as you want in here, and then you can create a printout configuration to include that extended description. Okay. Inactive, this basically means that we're not using this form at the moment. Maybe we'll use it again, so we mark as inactive. Remember, you can't delete these kind of items in K9. You can change them and you can make them inactive, but we want to be able to keep a record of them, so you don't have the ability to delete them. Okay. Notes, again, this is again to include those purely internal notes. Okay. Include a serial number, and again, I should clarify, this is for the line item notes. Okay, if I look at a product in a sales order, okay, and we'll cover this again when we go to actually print that out, I have the line item remarks, and that's what that tab over there means. Okay, so it'll print these notes over here for that line. Okay, right there. Okay. Include the serial numbers. So do I want to include the serial numbers on that printout? Now it's odd including serial numbers and also lot numbers on a sales order because you don't have that information yet. You receive those in the picking. But let's say a scenario occurs where you've done your sales order, you've done your picking, and now you reprint the sales order to send to the customer. You'll have that ability in there. Okay. Standard terms, that's basically over here. If you have any kind of terms and conditions that you'd like printed, you can create that in here and save that to print. Okay, child parts. So when you create the sales order, there is the ability to create an assembly in here. Do you want the child parts to display, or you just want the part information? Okay. Line item font size. This is where you can determine how big, of course, the font printing is for the line items. Okay. Hide the subtotal group. This will remove the subtotals, the final amount, the tax, all that section over there. Okay. If you don't want that to show, think like using this as a packing slip. Okay. Do we want to print the status of the document that it's currently in? So in this case, it would print draft on the top of the document. Okay. Do we want to print the customer phone number on the document? Okay, think of if you're putting this in an envelope, do you want that customer phone number to show? And the company extended number. Okay, so this is basically, if you look in our customer form over here, you have an external number over there. Okay, this is maybe your account number with them or something along those lines right there, that external account. Do you want to print it on that document? Okay, so that's the header stuff. Now we move into the details. Okay, so basically you have a few options over here. Okay, the name of the column as defined in K9, and you can change the name on the printout if you like, and you can change the decimal precision. Okay, of course you can only do this for quantity type items, okay, or amounts rather. Do we want to display this line entirely? And the size, basically the width. So rather than creating an auto adjusting that may cut things too short and be unreadable, you have the ability to modify those printout widths over there. Okay, and do we want to display the value over here if there is one? And do we want to exclude 0 values? Okay, so basically you have the ability to manipulate all of these, and of course in here you have the ability to manipulate the order that they show up in. Okay, now you'll see some items over here that will not show up in the sales order. Okay, like things like text, dimensions, author, use parts, and you may wonder what these are, where they're coming from. So what those are is in the custom column configuration that we have in a separate video. Okay, it is these columns that show up for that part, and you can decide whether to attach them on that printout. So if you have something like the weight of the product, and you're recording those, and you want it to print on a separate column over there, you can go ahead and check that box and allow it to print, and it'll go ahead and print that weight over there. So that's what these columns are. Okay, so this is a sales order. You'll notice as you go through different types of forms, let's go ahead and create a new one. Some of these options will change slightly. Okay, so let's say if we want to create a printout for, let's say, an inventory count. Okay, and we'll give it a number over there. Okay, you'll see that there's different options over here. Okay, it'll change and you'll get some different options, but generally they all follow the same line and they're all very self-explanatory. If you have any questions with this, of course, contact your implementer and he'll help you out.